All right, magic makers. I have another great show. I mean, I always kick it off. So I think that's like the way I start off my podcast. So I hear so many of you tell me that, I would hit my goals if I just had a plan, a program, a blueprint. I would just follow it to the T and I would just be rocking my goals. I would be hitting them on all cylinders, right? And I get it. I wanted that too for so long. I dreamed of this like mythical plan that, kind of if you ever saw the movie The Ten Commandments, they would come down on these tablets and it's like, here are your good foods, here are your bad foods, do this for the rest of your life, and you will have, whatever the goal is that I wish I wanted to have at that time. And I get it. So many of you have been dieting since you were 15 and you're like, I'm done. I'm over it. I'm ready. I can do this. What is wrong with me? And all the crazy talk that uh, goes through your brain. You are not alone. You're not the only person talking to yourself in a negative way. I believe that this is what I believe, right? That getting healthy and fit can be effortless. And that you don't have to keep pressing that reset button, like in, video games, like you get the extra life. Like you are not a video game. You don't have to get fit. You do not have to keep pressing that reset reboot button over and over and over again. I know mine was like worn out. The letters are coming off of it. It's hard to read. So here's where we go. Most of you hate not being able to eat what you love, eat the foods that you love, have the drinks that you love. We want to be able to go out for dinner with our families, our sweeties, and not be like, over analyzing the menu before we even show up at the restaurant, or telling yourself, I can only have a salad with chicken on it, and can you put the dressing on the side, right? Only if you want that. If that's like what you were just like, I'm in the mood, I'm got a hankering for a really good salad. And I'm going to tell you, some days I have a hankering for a good salad, because isn't it so true that when you make a salad or a sandwich, it's when someone else makes you a salad or a sandwich, you're like, this is the best lettuce ever. Where did they get this lettuce from? Is it from another planet? I don't know. Is that just me? Let me know hit me up on social if when someone else makes you a sandwich or salad, if it's not the best thing since sliced bread. All right, so let me get back to this. So most of you hate diets because it's like, I can't have the foods I love. There's no wiggle room. It's like you're either on or you're off. And so we've become so programmed that like I'm either following a program or I'm not following a program. Like it's black and white. And today, I want to talk about strategy. Over the last few podcasts that I've done on my own, I've talked about what the process is that I work with clients and how I best support them. And how I best support them is one, accountability. So go back and listen to that podcast on accountability. I believe it was 105, but I will link it in the show notes. And then I also have to do another podcast on consistency. What does it take to be consistent? And again, I'll link up in the show notes and go back to it so you can listen to it in its entirety. But you're done looking for that good food, bad food list. You're done, feeling like crap because of the choices that you made, or feeling like crap because you missed a workout. So I want you to have that life, be able to find that, the balance between having fun and, having not and being able to say, what, today's the day I'm just going to curb what I want for food. And the other day is like, what, today I'm just going to go out and I'm going to have the ice cream cone with my kid because my kid's only 8 years old once. And this is the best ice cream wherever your best ice cream is. And, everyone has their, those one or two places that are only open in the summertime. And, you just want to enjoy it. Or heck, we have a really good ice cream place around the corner from my house. And some days it's like, yeah, let's go there. Let's go to Toscanini's and have a ice cream cone and just be okay with it and not be like, all right, well, tomorrow I got to go to the gym and do this. And I'm having an ice cream cone. It's going to taste freaking amazing. And that's it. I ate it. I loved it. I'm done. So I was that person. I was that on the wagon, off again wagon person. Food in Tupperware, so that I could go into food with Tupperware, bringing food to someone's house who invited me to dinner, interrogating the waiter for what was in food, and then reorganizing the food so that I could have whatever I wanted to have on the menu. Some of you are living off of like salad, water, coffee, and gum. And if you're just feeling like, OMG, uncle, I'm done, keep listening because I'm going to get to the point here. So deep in my mind, as I was going through my crazy, I said to myself, like, it has to be different. It can be different. I don't see other people stressing out about this. And you know what? There's so many other things in my life that I can't spend any more energy, brain power on my food and my workouts. This wasn't the life I chose. I wanted a life where I could put perfection on the shelf. I wanted to just get out of my own way. And I was done feeling guilty. I was done feeling guilty about those missed workouts. I was done feeling guilty. Did this workout count enough because it didn't last 2 hours? I was done feeling guilty about trying to be perfect. And if this is what I started to think. If every woman who dieted hard, followed keto, did the Whole30, you name it, had they lost the weight and kept it off? Right. I have a client who, she spun her wheels for a really long time. And she kept saying, Kim, this month I'm doing the hard 75. And if you don't know the hard 75, I've talked about it before, but it's basically like you have to work out 2 times a day. There's like 10 different things that you have to do. Google it. And she was like, oh, Kim, I can't make it past day 5. And I was like, so how do you make it you? How do you take this program and you make it fit for you, for your life? And that it stumped her for a really long time until we started to really unpack how she could make this work for her and still have that same, concept of having 75 consecutive days of having good stuff happen towards her health and her fitness. So, as I told Sally, you can continue to go down this road and continue to search for motivation, willpower, discipline to keep going, or you could start by creating your own strategy. And that's what we did, right? With Sally, we sat down and said, let's just create our own strategy here. And that's what my superpower is. My superpower is I work with clients to create a repeatable program that works for their life. And I base it off of what I call my 5 C's. And the 5 C's, and I will go through it at length with you, but the 5 C's are clarity, choices, connection, creativity, courage, and consistency. All right. So that was 6, but 2 kind of go together. One's a sub bullet, if you will. So the first place is that we have to get clear, like crystal clear, what the hell do you want? What are you looking for? And many of you are chasing several rabbits at the same time, or you are very vague. And this expression that I heard, I don't even know where I heard it. I didn't make it up. It wasn't me. But it's like, if I aim at nothing, I always hit it. And the first time I heard that expression, I was like, damn. Like that is the truth right there. And so many people, when I ask them, like, if you work with me, I'm like, okay, in the next 30 days, what are you looking to achieve? And a lot of times I get the like, the blank stare, or I get like, I want to, and they like rattle off like 500 things. And I was like, okay, let's boil it down, right? Because so many of us try to chase so many different things. Like, you want to run a marathon, but you also want to put on muscle. You want to like find a new job, find a new love, and all these different things. And I kind of have to scale people back and say, okay, if I had to choose, what's my priority? Okay? What's the number one thing that I want? And the best way to reach your goal is to focus on what's the most important thing. And, so many of us think you got to go big, you got to dream bigger, and I'm not here to tell you, no. You don't have to go big or go home. Your dream doesn't have to be big. Your dream can be small. Your dream can be, because I think about it. If your dream is like, I just want to get out of my own damn way. I just want to figure out what does consistency look like for me. Dang, that's huge, right? It might seem like the words might seem small, but the concept, ooh la la, that is huge. So here's where a good friend of mine, she described it as the 4 burners, right? So think about your stove. And if you have one of those like freaking gourmet stoves, like, no, we're talking 4 burner stoves, like old school stove, something your grandma had. Right. So you have 4 burners. And if we know, like, not every burner on that stove can be on high, right? Something is on high, something is a little low, something is like simmering, but like we're not like trying to stir every single pot as we go through. So here's where I want you to think about yourself and say, if in your goals, like what are the things you want to achieve? And what is the number one burner? Like what is on high right now? And then what's on medium high? What's on medium and what's on low? And like, let's work from there. We can achieve them, but like, we've got to focus in on one thing so that that's going to get the bulk of our attention, right? So it's like that 80-20 rule. 80% of your effort and attention is going to go to burner number 1. And 20% will be sprinkled throughout the rest of your goals. The other way I like to look at it is seasons, right? We all have different seasons in our life. And, I've talked about this woman because it's the clearest example that I have is that, we all have different seasons in our lives, different seasons in our businesses, different seasons in our careers. And so I talk about this woman, Katie, a lot because she was an accountant and everyone knows what an accountant does, right? I don't have to describe it. So as an accountant, basically from middle of March through May, she's flat out. So her number 1 burner is her job. And so when we work together, it's like, okay, how do we keep the rest of the burners going? How do we simmer those burners so that we're not trying to, create this huge goal when it's, tax time? And so I want you to think about that. What are some of the seasons in your life? As a personal trainer, when I was working in the gym, my busy time was basically from like mid-January through through like the early June. And then my business picked up again in September through November. Those were like the 2 busy periods of my business. So for me to start something new, it wasn't going to happen in January. When everyone's like New Year's resolutions, like, girl, I ain't got time for resolutions, right? I'm working with people on their resolutions. So think about, like, does your business have seasonality? My husband, he works for an e-commerce company. And so for him, roughly from September through Christmas Day, that is like the Super Bowl for them. Like they are like, that's where they make the bulk of their money. So like, they're like heads down getting stuff done. So I want you to think about, like, do you have a period of time like that in your life? Maybe you have kids who play sports. A good friend of mine, her son is a very like elite athlete. And she is constantly, he plays baseball. So basically from, March through October, she's, sitting, watching him play or taking him to practice. So that's not a time for her to start. So I think I'd like beat this drum really hard. So really step back and say to yourself, okay, what is it that I want to achieve? And get so crystal clear that, like, if you told anybody on the street, some rando on the street, this is what I want to achieve, they be like, oh, all right, I know exactly what that is, right? It's kind of like if you're at the grocery store and you're like, hey, can you tell me where the Pine Sol is? And I'm like, oh, everyone knows what Pine Sol is, and they can tell you that it's in aisle 14. Once I get clear about what it is that I want, now I can start to make choices, right? And the choices are, this is what I want. And it's like, okay, what are the choices that I need to make? And the focus is, I want it to be stupid easy, like so simple, right? We've done complicated. This isn't trying to put together a piece of IKEA furniture. This is literally like, a really simple piece of IKEA furniture. You have 2 legs and you have a top to make a stool, right? That's how simple it is. Like, we're not trying to do rocket science here. And so as we figure out, like we said, we have that number 1 burner. And so here's what I always tell people, this is where we focus on the non-negotiables. And non-negotiables are things that you aren't already doing that feel easy. So here's some examples. So if someone who says to me, Kim, you know what, I think, I don't want to give up wine, but I want to moderate the amount of wine that I'm drinking. Awesome. So what does moderate wine look like? Right? Because if I aim at nothing, I always hit it. If I don't give myself a number, how am I going to measure it? I think it's Robin Sharma says, what gets measured gets done. So if I don't have a measure, how do I know what moderate is? Is moderate 10? Is moderate 5? Right? So the goal setter needs to create that number. So I could say, you know what? I want to moderate my drinking. So I'm going to have 1 drink a week. I'm only going to have 2 drinks on the weekend. I'm not going to drink Monday through Friday, and I'm only going to have a glass of wine on Saturday night with my sweetie, or I'm only going to have 2 drinks over the week, right? You have to come up with what are your scenarios, because when I create the scenarios, it doesn't feel so like binding, and I'm a rule breaker. So if you give me rules, I'm going to find a way to cheat on it. I'm going to find a way to rebel and break that damn rule. And so I want to exercise more. Okay, so what is the exercise that you're going to do? And what is the duration? So is it, I'm going to go for a walk 20 minutes a day, 3 times a week. I'm going to, go to a spin class 2 times a week on Monday and Wednesdays, right? So what does that look like? So, for many of you, I always say, punch it in your calendar. My calendar, I'm like Ron Burgundy. Did anyone see the movie Anchorman? Like, if it is in my calendar, I'm going to do it. That's how I am about my calendar, right? It's like, I put it in my calendar, it gets scheduled, it gets done, boom, boom, boom. I sit down every Sunday and I map out my week, because I know me. I left to my own devices, I'm bumping into walls and I have all these great intentions. Then I'm like, oh snap, it's 4:00. What the hell happened today? Right? Does anyone else feel that way? So are you picking up what I'm putting down? So if I told myself, oh, my goal is to be more healthy. Great. That's vague as F. What does more healthy look like? Is it eating more vegetables? Is it having more protein? How many vegetables are you eating? Is it having an extra cup of vegetables a day? Is it having, making sure you get in protein with every meal that you eat, right? So getting specific on whatever your goal is, and really drilling down onto the choices. And I'm going to say it again. What gets measured gets done. All right. So here's where, like, those 2 things you've heard before, or you're like, yeah, you make a goal, and you've heard SMART goals and all that other stuff. Fine. You get that. Now here's where it gets real, right? It gets a little squishy. It gets a little hard. I'm going to push you on some things. Now we have to connect. And so what I mean by connect is that you need to feel this goal. This is your motivation. When so many people say, I don't have any motivation. My question back is, what's your why? And, I can link it in the show notes. This gentleman, Simon Sinek, he started this, I'm going to say it's easily 10 years ago, about why. And people like you, or they buy from companies when they understand their why. And that's where I want you to start thinking about, what is the why? And the why is 1, motivation, but 2, it's like, why do you value this goal? So think about, if it was money, like, how much money would you pay for this goal? Like, is this goal like a first class ticket to Paris? Like, you're just like, yeah, you're so fired up, like, yeah, I'm going to Paris, I'm going first class, woo. Or it's like, I'm going to Paris first class, it's fine, it's good, right? Where is that? Tap into that, because this might take you some time. It might be a process. Like, some people are like very emotive and some people are very reflective. I'm 50-50. Right? It depends on what it is. I can be emotive, but I also can be very reflective. And so, you have to think about why you made this goal. Maybe your doctor told you you're 2 cheeseburgers away from having a heart attack. Or maybe, you high blood pressure runs in your family, and you're like, if I don't start taking care of myself, I'm looking at like the rest of my family, and it ain't pretty moving forward. Or maybe you're like, you know what? I just want to look in my closet and fit in my pants. I don't want to have a rack of maybe pants, right? Or, oh, I only shop at this one cheap off-brand store because I know I'm going to lose the weight and I don't want to spend a lot of money on clothes, right? We've all have those reasons why we do that. So figure out what it is that you want to do. This is self-awareness, like so that you aren't always going through the motions, that you aren't always chasing the reboot button. Because when I get like deep and like, this is what I want, then I could be like, yeah, I could start asking myself better questions. I can be like, hey, if I go out to Mexican with my friends and I want to, my goal is to fit into my pants, then I'm not going to go face down into the 9-layer dip. I might have a couple of chips and be like, I'm good. And then just be like, you know what? These 2 chips are fine. I don't need to devour the whole 9-layer dip. Right. So it's like finding a way to find that balance where you still can be social, you still can have fun foods, but you're not like, deep diving and like licking the bowl. And if you feel stuck, describe what is your ideal health scenario? Like, what does your day look like? Right. It's like I work out first thing in the morning. So it's like I wake up without an alarm. And my first things are deciding if I'm going for a walk or if I'm going to go, lift weights. That's my ideal health scenario. That's the life that I created for myself. It's like I get up and I do one thing for myself before I start the rest of the day. That's my why. Right. Then I could be for everybody else. But, from 7 to 8 in the morning, that's Kim time. Right. So I want you to think about, do you have you time? And now, that can feel a little challenging. This next step can be even more challenging because here's where we have to get creative. And it's like, here's where we together work through some mental external barriers. And this is going to take some time, right? This is where you might feel stuck because you like certainty, right? You have been dieting and exercising the same way for X number of years, and you just don't know any different way. I'm raising my hand. I was there. Like I only knew I was either working out 2 hours a day or I wasn't working out. I only knew that I was having 5 meals a day or I wasn't stoking my metabolism. But I also knew that if I couldn't get a 2-hour workout, I was like, well, why work out at all? And I also know that, so being so restrictive with my food also made me go off on, benders. And I had to change my diet. I had to change the way I worked out. One, because my body physically was burnt. It was like my adrenals, my thyroids, my hormones were just like, no bueno, sister, no bueno. So I had to do things differently. And I know we want certainty. We want that guarantee. You want me to look you in the eye and say, if you don't work out 2 hours a day, if you are not doing body part splits, you are definitely going to get your goal. And with certainty, I can say that change is good. With certainty, I can say that to get different, I have to do different. And if you are looking in the mirror and whatever you're doing, be it food wise, workout wise, sleep wise, stress wise, and you like how you look, rock on with your bad self. Tune me out. I am not for you. But if you are, I can't do this anymore. Ugh, this feels so hard. I just feel like I'm never going to achieve my goals. Keep listening, right? Because I will tell you that now I look forward to my workout. Before, my workout felt like a second job. All right. I felt like even though I didn't work at the gym I worked out at, they should pay me for how much time I was freaking at that gym. All right. I always was so nervous about what I ate. I would always, like I said, I interrogated the waiters. I would only go to restaurants that I knew that I can make whatever the hell I wanted out of whatever was on the menu, right? And so I just didn't want to live my life like that anymore. And my body, if my body didn't break down, I don't know when I would have come to that, like come to Jesus moment. So here's where the real work begins. And you ask yourself hard questions, like, what do I have to lose, right? What does success look like to me? And can I sustain what I think success looks like for me? And where would I be without these thoughts? You're right. So it was a lot of our inner work. So many people think that, it's like three, 3 times a week do this and 2 times a week do that and don't eat this and don't eat that. But it's really asking yourself these questions. And here is where you and I together, we dig deep and we unpack this so that we can get started and really unpack like where we need to go with you so that you can start to finally get to where you want to be without all the stress and the guilt and the crazy talk. And rip off the band-aid. And sometimes it's me having you to take a few steps back. And that's hard as all get out. When I first started down this path, I could only walk. That was it. I could only walk. Do you know how hard that was? I was like, I'm not going to be breaking a sweat. It was like pure panic that went through. And I was just like, okay. When the doctor told me, I think my eyes were like shifting back and forth and I was trying to be cool, like, oh yeah, I can walk. No, I couldn't walk. It was very hard for me to do that. So there is no need to go big or go home. Like that mentality, boop, let's put it on the shelf. One of my very first coaches, she always said this. And at the time I was like, not ready to hear it. She would say, you could go hard, you could go fast, but you can't go hard and fast for long. And I was like, she's not talking to me. She was talking to me. She was just being very polite. So, where is the easiest place to start? That's where, like, when we start to get creative, where's the easiest place to start? Is food easy for you? Is it working out? Like, where are the easiest places to start? And what are some of the baby steps we can start to do to strip away, to start to really get creative about how we're going to get to your ultimate goal, which leads into courage, right? But courage to continue to stay the course, right? Prove yourself wrong, right? Prove yourself that I don't need a 2-hour workout. Prove myself that I can, get it done in 30 minutes. Proving myself, by little tests, little feats of strength, if you will, little experiments, right? So that we can keep building that mental muscle and start picking up these small victories and starting to like feel like, oh, I got this, I can do this. But keeping that open mind. And I know, this is where mindset really comes into play. And so many people talk about mindset here. Mindset is having the courage to do things differently and focus on, instead of us focusing on 10 pounds, dress sizes, we shift the focus and start to focus on what is the process so that we have a repeatable process, so that if something goes awry, I can look back and be like, okay, this is what I did. And this is where it started to fall apart. Or this is where I did, and this is where, I started to get some good results, right? So I can be able to pinpoint my way versus, throwing spaghetti up against the wall and like, I hope it works, right? It doesn't work that way. I wish, right? It would make my life so much easier. But when I started having a process of like, okay, I'm going to start by focusing on my breakfast. Like breakfast was always a challenge for me. And I focused on having my breakfast. Great. Then I was like, okay, this breakfast, it feels good for me. I like this breakfast. It hits the 2 S's. It's satiating and it's satisfying. All right. And that's how I started. And so that was the outcome I was looking for. I needed a breakfast that didn't make me feel hungry a few hours later. Right. I needed something that didn't make me feel like I just ate it and I'd be like, so what's next? Eggs. I used to eat eggs for breakfast. I used to eat a protein shake for breakfast, and I was always hungry a few hours later. So here's where I had to flip the script and not go by what normal standards were. And it worked for me. So I want you to think about those kind of things, like what part of your process isn't working for you? No one's ever going to say that part of your process is unhealthy, but it ain't working for you. And that's where we have to really focus so that we can really start to take those consistent actions. And that's where we can take those consistent actions. And that's where consistency comes from. You can control the process, but you can't control the outcome. Like I can control how many calories, how many macros, how many times I go to the gym, but I can't control that my body's like, yeah, girl, I was giving you some weight loss for the last few weeks, but this week, nope, I ain't giving it to you. Nope, nope, nope. But so instead of getting all pissed at the scale or pissed at whatever I am measuring, I can be like, okay, Kim, what did you do this week? Well, did I go to the gym? Did I get in my 3 workouts? Did I do this? Did I do this? And so I could look at my process and be like, you know what? I didn't honor my process. I only went to the gym 1 day this week. So I can't expect results if I'm not doing the process to get the results. Does that make sense? All right. So I touched on I touched on the process, but I want to go through it a little bit more. So we want to focus on having our process over the results because it reduces our frustration. How many of us get frustrated because the scale didn't go down, or I look in the mirror and I'm not seeing anything? But it's like, if I know that I'm, again, coming back to certainty, if I know that I am always hitting that process, I'm like, these are my processes, this number of workouts a week. I'm eating this number of calories or macros a week. I'm getting X number of hours of sleep. I'm managing my stress, right? What are your 6 steps? And if you want to go back, I did a whole podcast on the big rocks. Like, what are the things that really move the dial for you when you are trying to lose weight? So I can always improve my process. My results will come from a good process, and it's not a 1-for-1. That's the one thing I want you to take away. It's not a 1-for-1. If I do this, I'm guaranteed. No, I'm guaranteed that if I'm in a caloric deficit, if I am moving my body at least 3 times a week, 30 minutes, I am on the road to weight loss. Okay. That I am setting myself up for success. And the more I do that, the more I repeat the process, the more my body's going to start to respond to these inputs. So now comes the consistency part, right? Because it's like, what can I do day in and day out that doesn't feel hard, that doesn't feel like heavy lifting, that doesn't get put on the shelf when work gets busy, I have a sick kid, I get sick, right? There's so much uncertainty in our worlds right now, but what is it that I can do that I can fit into my life? And maybe, depending on you, like maybe you have those crazy seasons, right? I told you about my friend Andy, and I told you about my client Katie. So it's like, what can you do for, when Andy's going from baseball field to baseball field with her kid? And what can Katie do when it's tax season, right? So think about those things. And so with consistency, and I've done a whole podcast on it, and that's podcast 109. And again, I'll link it up in the show notes. This is what I want you to think about. The way you get your goal is the way you keep your goal, right? So if, I talked about Sally, and Sally wanted to do hard 75. Can I repeat that hard 75, like for the next 75 iterations, every 75 days, I'm pressing that button for the rest of my natural born life, right? So the way I get my goal is the way I keep it. And the more you say that to yourself, the more you're like, yeah, you're absolutely right, Kim, like preach. And so here's where I want you to say, what is your ultimate goal, right? So that you are saying to myself, I'm fitting my diet and exercise into my life versus the other way around. For a really long time, my diet and exercise ruled my life, and my life, my diet and exercise was the sun, and my life was or the planets orbiting. Now, my life is the sun, and my diet and exercise revolve around my life. All right. And the best thing is plan for obstacles, right? Stuff is going to happen. That's life, right? That's what I know for sure. That's what I'm certain about. Life is going to happen. There are going to be obstacles. You're going to get flat tires, sick kid, work, travel, whatever. There's going to be something. So I need to plan for obstacles, and so that I'm not disappointed, so that I know that if my plan is to go to the gym on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, and if something comes up on Thursday, I'm like, okay, well, I normally don't work out on Wednesday. So I'm going to work out on Wednesday because I know I can't do it on Thursday, or I'm going away for the weekend and working out on Friday is not going to work. So I'm going to, move things around so that I have that flexibility in my life versus just leaving it to life. So here's where we start to put it to work, right? We come up with those non-negotiables. And, for a long time, these are my 3 non-negotiables. I'm now working on new non-negotiables, but my first set of 3 non-negotiables were I moved my body at least 30 minutes a day. I had a big ass salad every single day for lunch, and I slept for 7 hours, at least 7 hours every single night. That was my non-negotiables, like boom, and I can do them like clockwork now. And I started this like 6 years ago. Now I'm starting to do different things. So now I have 3 new non-negotiables that, they're not there just yet. They're a work in progress. My goal is to eat at least 400 to 800 grams of vegetables, 20 to 30 grams of protein with at least 3 meals, and read at least 10 pages of a nonfiction book. So those are my 3 new non-negotiables. And, the road's been a little bumpy. I ain't gonna lie. But those are my three new non-negotiables. And I want it to become like, boom, 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 what I do now. And I know I have evidence that when I set those 3, I can do it from my previous 3. So ask yourself, create your plan. And as you ask yourself, there's 4 questions I want you to follow up with this plan. Is your plan realistic for where you are right now in your life, your season, your burner? Use whatever analogy is going to work best for you. Are you excited about it? Can you hop out of bed on a cold February morning or on a hot July day and be like, yay, I'm going to crush this workout or whatever it is that you are doing, or you're looking forward to the food that you're eating, all of that goodness. And can I make a plan for it in my life so that my life isn't revolving around my plan, that I'm not having to, Google a gym so I could go to the gym before I go to the beach on vacation, right? Like, let's just stop that madness right now. And then lastly, is this just sustainable? Can I see myself doing this for the next 5 months, 6 months, 5 years, 30 years, right? So that it feels good. It feels effortless. I don't feel like I need to press the reboot button. I don't feel like I need to restart myself, right? Plug myself, unplug and replug, when it comes to that. So what do you think? Talk to me. You can continue hopping around and trying all the various diets out there. They all work until they don't. Or, you can keep waiting for the right time. And let me just tell you that right time's never coming because life, the slowest life ever got was during Rona, and everyone was told to go home. And we just sat around and watched the Corona numbers rise on TV. I could keep blaming so many things for my situations, right? I could blame Rona. I could blame, the shutdown. I can blame, not being able to go to the gym without wearing a mask. I could blame so many things, but that can stop. That can stop right now. And you could decide to take the steps I outlined here. Like I outlined it pretty good, right? There ain't nothing. I gave you I opened my kimono and showed you all my goodies. And I can start the shift right now. And I can no longer press that reboot button. No more Monday restarts. I'm no longer chasing, and I finally find fulfillment and feel free in my body. Or I can just listen to this podcast and be like, yeah, Kim talks a good game. I'll get to it. So you got nothing to lose but the wait, pun intended. So where are you? Talk to me. Like, do me a favor. If any of this resonated with you, screenshot this episode and tag me on the socials. You can find me on Facebook, Kim Jefferson Coach, and you can find me on Facebook at Kim Barnes Jefferson. And so, if this resonated with you, listen to it again. You can also grab my Fat Loss Fundamentals course, and it is going to give you all the basics to get started and start losing the weight, and walks you through everything. You also get to hear my lovely voice in your ear. And this is for you if you're like, you keep making promises to yourself and you're so sick of breaking them. So, friends and family, do me a favor. Now's the time, right? It's not going to get any easier. There's never going to be a better time than to start right flipping now. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day. And thanks so much for listening.